Not every argument is about truth. Sometimes it's about emotional survival. Think about the last time someone snapped at you over something small. A tone of voice, a delayed reply, a dish left in the sink. And you wondered, why does this feel so much bigger than it should? Here's the part most people never learn. That argument was never really about the dish. Picture this. A partner comes home, and you mention, gently, that they forgot to call. Suddenly, you're not having a conversation anymore. You're defending yourself against accusations that have nothing to do with tonight. A coworker criticizes one sentence in your email, and within minutes, it becomes a referendum on your competence. A stranger in traffic taps their horn, and somehow it turns into a 5-minute standoff over who has the right of way. In each case, the size of the reaction doesn't match the size of the moment. And that mismatch is the clue. Because most arguments aren't logical discussions. They're emotional dumping grounds. People don't always fight you because of what you did. They fight you because they need somewhere to put what they're already feeling. The frustration from earlier. The shame they haven't processed. The fear they won't admit to. And you happen to be standing there when it needed an exit. This is what psychologists call projection. It's the mind's way of taking internal chaos, pain, anger, insecurity, and placing it outside of itself, onto someone else, so it doesn't have to sit with it alone. It's not always conscious. It's not always intentional. But it's almost always about something deeper than the surface disagreement. So here's a question worth sitting with. When someone provokes you, are they really reacting to you? Or are they reacting to something inside themselves they can't quite face? Most of the time, it's the second one. And this is where things get tricky, because your instinct is to explain yourself, to clarify, to defend. But explaining yourself to someone who's emotionally dumping isn't received as information. It's received as more fuel. The baited hook isn't the insult itself. It's your need to respond to it. The moment you take the bait, you're no longer in a disagreement. You're carrying someone else's fire, as if it were your own to put out. This is why so many arguments are unwinnable. Not because you lack the right words, but because they were never about facts in the first place. You cannot logic someone out of an emotional state. You cannot win a debate that was never a debate. It was a release valve, and you happened to be standing nearby. So what do you do instead? You disengage, not with coldness, but with awareness. Silence, in these moments, isn't avoidance. It's discernment. It's recognizing that not every comment requires your response, and not every provocation deserves your energy. There's a quiet difference between defending your dignity and protecting your peace. Dignity sometimes means walking away without a single word, because you already know your worth doesn't need a witness in that moment. This isn't weakness. It's self-respect, fully formed. People carrying unresolved pain will often seek conflict, because conflict feels more familiar than stillness. But you are allowed to not participate in someone else's unfinished business. When you understand the emotional motive behind an argument, it stops being personal. It becomes information. And information doesn't need to be fought. It only needs to be understood. Peace is expensive, and not every battle deserves your nervous system.